Some of you are still operating under the delusion that having to do any work at all to regulate your emotions means you have a disorder. This is day 28 of 30 of finally being honest as someone who's recovered from BPD. Now, I don't mean any shade by this. I have absolutely been there, and I think it makes sense if you've been told that your emotions and the way you react to them is a problem, and especially if you struggle with all or nothing thinking, that you're going to apply a unilateral rule that says, if I'm having to do anything active to regulate my response to this, then it must mean I still have a problem. But the reality isn't so black or white. A few years ago, I was sitting in my therapist's office and I was telling her about something that incited a really strong feeling of anger in me. And I was telling her how frustrating it was that I still had to talk myself off the ledge to avoid reacting in some problematic way. She said, "Your anger seems justified given the situation, and it probably wouldn't have been effective for you to say what you were thinking. So that seems like a win to me." And I said, "Yeah, but I still have to talk myself off the ledge. Like, when is that gonna go away?" And she said, "If I'm really angry, I have to talk myself off the ledge sometimes." And I was like, "Wait, really?" She goes, "Yeah, what did you think people do?" And I was like, "I guess I just figured other people didn't get as angry as I do, so they didn't have to do anything to change how they react." She said, "It's not all or nothing. People have a range of different intensity responses depending on the situation. Sometimes people aren't that strongly affected by things, and so they don't need to do anything to change how they react to it. And other times, yes, even average everyday people have to actively talk themselves out of reacting badly." That was a really impactful conversation for me because it made me realize the standards that I was setting for myself of what a recovered person looked like was a standard that no human being hits. A big part of my recovery was letting go of the idea that being an average person means not having any of this at all. Believing that actually is a BPD thought because it's very all or nothing. And yes, I do think a big part of recovery is reducing how often and how easily we get into these emotion states where we are actively having to talk ourselves off the ledge. And it's still going to happen sometimes. Not necessarily because you're backsliding into pathological behavior, but because it's just a part of being human. Till next time.